So what do I have in my hand here? Well, this is looks like the symbols, little images of three pigs: a mother, a father, and a baby pig. When I was in Libya, in the oil field, I met a lot of really interesting people, coming from different backgrounds. A lot of Europeans, guys from Texas, Oklahoma, up around Calgary, Canada, where there's a lot of oil production. And I met this one guy, and I really enjoyed conversations with him. He was real bright. He was a rig hand, but he was over there to make money. Most people were, in fact. The pay was good. The companies that they worked for pretty much paid for all their food, transportation, even work clothes were covered in many cases. But this one guy from Canada was really interesting because he was there to make and save money. And I was fascinated with his story. His father had a ranch, I believe, someplace near Calgary, Calgary. I'm not sure what province that's in. But the father had done well on this ranch. They raised cattle. But the father had begun to look into a growing pork market. Pork was really increasing in price. There must have been a lack of pork on the market, and price was going up. And all the indicators showed that the pork market was a good investment for the future. So the father began to study, how do you raise pigs economically? Well, one way is to put them out in the field and just let them eat the grass, but that's not very economical. Another way was just to have feeding troughs, outside, and just keep food in those feeding troughs and plenty of water, and just let the pigs roam around and eat when they wanted. But that's not very economical either. But he began to study and found there was research being done on scientific feeding of pigs. Well, to make a long story short, I really like pigs. In fact, we have some funny little pictures of pigs here in our home. I became so fascinated with the story this young guy told about what he and his dad were going to do that I actually considered at some level of thinking about doing it myself. Now, I didn't come from a farm family, but my grandfather owned farms, and in fact, I remember as a young kid going to one of his farms, and he introduced me to a hog. And he said, you got to be careful around that hog. He could be dangerous. Well, he was much, much bigger than I was. I was just a little tiny kid. But I was fascinated with that hog, how big he was. And I just had that in the back of my mind. But this young guy from Canada, he and his father developed a plan. And what it was scientific pork raising. And what it involved was, you don't want the pigs moving around. You just want them to eat, and eat as much of the good food as they could with inactivity. So they designed a barn, and this barn was really clever. It had conveyor belts that brought food into the feeding stations. They had sluices in the concrete floor that carried away waste material. They had water that was piped in to keep the watering troughs filled. They had a vet that came out on a regular basis to make sure the pigs were healthy and well cared for, and properly taken care of from a medicinal point of view. At any rate, the father had started that operation, but it had grown so quickly in a very short period of time. So this young man said, Dad, I'm going to Libya. I'm going to make some money so we can expand this operation. Well, the pig farm grew rapidly while he was away. And he made a lot of money, and he saved all of it. And he went back to Canada. Well, I lost touch with him. I wish I'd kept up with him. I did think about that idea of scientifically raising pigs. It never materialized with me. In fact, after I left Libya, I went to grad school and decided I wanted to work in the steel industry and international sales. So I never really did much with the pigs, but I do have a fond memory of these funny little creatures. Aren't they cute?